Captain Han-ki stood on the bridge of the Earth Defense Force ship Taeguk, watching the endless black of space through the main window. Jupiter's massive form filled part of the view, its red spots swirling like a giant eye. He had been patrolling this area for 3 months now, and nothing interesting had happened. Space was quiet, too quiet, some of his crew said. "Captain," Lieutenant Dan-Yun called from her station. "I'm getting something strange on the long-range sensors." Han-ki walked over to her console. Dan-Yun was the best communications officer in the fleet, and she never called something strange unless it really was. What kind of strange? There's a ship out there, but it's not showing up on visual, just energy readings. She pointed to her screen. "Look at these numbers. I've never seen anything like this." The energy readings were massive, far bigger than any ship Earth had ever built. Han-ki felt his stomach tighten. Distance? About 50,000 kilometers, near Jupiter's fourth moon. Diane adjusted her controls. "Captain, it's getting closer." "All stations, alert status," Han-ki ordered. The bridge lights dimmed to red and alarms started beeping. "Get me Admiral Jiho on the comm." Before Yun could respond, space in front of them began to shimmer, like heat waves rising from hot pavement, except this was in the vacuum of space. Slowly, a ship began to appear. It was huge, at least 3 times the size of the Taeguk. Its surface was smooth and silver with no visible weapons or engines. It looked like someone had carved it from a single piece of metal. "Sir," Yun whispered, "they're sending us a message. Put it through." The main screen flickered and a face appeared. It was not human. The creature had pale blue skin, large black eyes, and no nose that Han-ki could see. When it spoke, its voice was flat and cold, like a computer reading a shopping list. "Primitive vessel of the third planet. I am Ambassador Kethver of the Galactic Dominion. Your species has been evaluated. You have been found to be primitive aggressors. This classification requires immediate action." Han-ki felt sweat on his forehead. "This is Captain Han-ki of the Earth Defense Force. You are in Earth space without permission. State your intentions." The alien's expression did not change. "Your planet and all its inhabitants are now under Dominion authority. You will surrender control of your government, military, and resources to our appointed administrators. This is not a request. This is an order, and if we refuse, refusal will result in the complete elimination of your species. Your planet will be prepared for colonization by approved Dominion races." The alien paused. "You have 7 of your planetary rotations to comply. After that time, our fleet will arrive to enforce compliance." The screen went black. The alien ship began to shimmer again, and within seconds it was gone. Only empty space remained. Yun stared at her console. "Captain, I'm still reading their energy signature. They didn't leave? They just disappeared?" Han-ki was already moving toward the communications station. "Get me Earth Command. Priority Alpha, now." 2 hours later, Han-ki sat in a room full of the most powerful people on Earth. Admiral Jiho, the head of all Earth's military forces, sat at the head of the long table. President Minsu was there, along with the leaders of every major nation. Dr. So-young, Earth's best expert on space technology, had her laptop open and was typing rapidly. "Let me make sure I understand this correctly," President Minsu said slowly. "Aliens came to our solar system and told us we have 1 week to surrender our planet or they will destroy us all." "That's correct, sir," Han-ki replied. "The ambassador called us primitive aggressors and said we had been evaluated." Dr. So-young looked up from her computer. "I've been analyzing the energy readings from Captain Han-ki's ship. Their technology is far beyond anything we have. The power output from that single ship was equal to our largest power plant." "How many ships do they have?" asked General Sun-ho, the head of ground forces. "Unknown," Admiral Jiho said. "But if they're confident enough to give us an ultimatum, they probably have enough to back it up." The room fell silent. Everyone was thinking the same thing, but no one wanted to say it. Earth's entire military was designed to fight other humans. Their biggest ships carried nuclear weapons, but Even those seemed small compared to what they had just seen. What do we know about this galactic dominion? President Min-Soo asked. Dr. So-young pulled up a chart on the main screen. Nothing. We've been listening to space for over a century. We've never heard any signals from alien civilizations. Either they're very far away or they use technology we can't detect. Or they don't want to be detected, Hyun-Ki added. That ship appeared out of nowhere. If they have stealth technology that advanced, they could have been watching us for years. Admiral Ji-ho stood up and walked to the window. Earth hung in space below them, blue and white and beautiful. The question is simple. Do we fight or surrender? We can't fight them, General Suho said. You saw the readings. One ship had more power than our entire fleet. Then we surrender? President Min-Soo asked. Surrender to become slaves, Dr. So-young said quietly. That's what he meant by administrators. They're not here to make friends. They want to own us. Hyun-Ki thought about the alien's face on the screen, cold, emotionless, like humans were just another problem to solve. But there had been something else. Something in the way the alien had paused before mentioning the fleet. Sir, I think there might be something we're missing. What do you mean? Admiral Ji-ho asked. The alien seemed confident. Too confident. Like this was routine for them. But why give us 7 days? If they're so powerful, why not just attack immediately? Dr. So-young nodded slowly. That's a good point. If you can destroy a civilization easily, why warn them first? Maybe they've done this before, General suggested. Maybe they always give people a chance to surrender. Or maybe, Hyun-Ki said, they're not as sure of victory as they want us to think. President Min-Soo looked around the table. Do we have any chance at all if we fight? Admiral Ji-ho was quiet for a long moment. Our ships are small compared to theirs. Our weapons are primitive. We don't have their stealth technology or their power sources. He turned from the window. But we have 3 billion people who have never been slaves. We have soldiers who have trained their entire lives to defend Earth, and we have something they might not expect. What's that? Stubbornness? Admiral Ji-ho smiled grimly. Humans are very good at fighting when our backs are against the wall. We've been doing it for thousands of years. The debate continued for hours. Some wanted to surrender and hope the aliens would be merciful. Others wanted to fight, even if it meant certain death. Finally, President Min-Soo called for a vote. It was close. Very close. But in the end, Earth's leaders made their choice. President Min-Soo stood up and looked at the camera that would broadcast Earth's response to the waiting alien ship. His voice was steady and strong. To the Galactic Dominion, we have received your ultimatum and considered your demands. Earth's answer is no. We will not surrender our freedom, our planet, or our people. If you want Earth, you will have to take it by force. We will resist with everything we have. He paused and looked directly into the camera. You call us primitive, you call us aggressors, but you don't know us at all. We are human beings and we bow to no one. Come and try to take our world. You will find that humans are very difficult to kill. The message was sent into space, toward the invisible alien ship. Within minutes a response came back, just 2 words, so be it. Captain Hyun-Ki felt a chill run down his spine. In 7 days, Earth would be at war with an enemy they had never seen before. An enemy with technology beyond their understanding and power beyond their imagination. But as he looked at the faces around the table, he saw something that gave him hope. Fear, yes, but also determination. Humans had always been fighters. Now they would find out if that was enough. 7 days passed too quickly. Captain Hyun-Ki stood on the bridge of the Taeguk, now part of a defensive line of 300 Earth ships spread around the planet. It was the largest fleet humanity had ever assembled, but it felt tiny compared to what was coming. Contact in 30 seconds, Lieutenant Da-Yoon announced. Her voice was steady, but Hyun-Ki could see her hands shaking slightly as she worked her controls. Through the main window, space looked normal. Stars twinkled in the distance. Earth hung below them like a blue marble. Then the stars began to disappear, one by one, Black shapes blotted out the light. Ships, hundreds of them. No, thousands. They materialized out of nowhere, appearing in perfect formation around Earth like they had been there all along. Each ship was massive, dwarfing even Earth's largest battleships. "Dear God," someone whispered on the bridge. Commander Haywan's voice crackled over the radio from her ship. "The Dokdo. All ships, this is Fleet Command. Count is over 10,000 enemy vessels. Repeat, 10,000 plus." Hyenki felt his mouth go dry. Earth's entire fleet was 300 ships. The aliens had brought more than 30 ships for every one of. There's a new voice came over all frequencies. It was the same flat, emotionless tone from the alien ambassador. "Vessels of Earth, this is Admiral Vexler of the Galactic Dominion 3rd Fleet. Your time has expired. You will power down your weapons and prepare to be boarded. Any resistance will result in immediate destruction." Commander Haywan's response was immediate. "All Earth ships, weapons free. Fight with everything you have." The battle began with a flash of light that hurt to look at. The alien ships fired beams of pure energy that cut through space like golden swords. Where they touched Earth ships, metal simply vanished. The Ed Soul took a direct hit and disappeared in a ball of fire. 30 crew members gone in an instant, but Earth's ships fired back. Nuclear missiles streaked toward the alien fleet like angry hornets. Most were destroyed by defensive systems Hyenki couldn't see. But some got through. When they exploded against alien hulls, they left glowing craters in the strange metal. "They can be hurt," Dayun said with surprise. "But not easily," Hyenki replied. He watched as an alien ship that had taken a direct nuclear hit simply rotated to present an undamaged side, and kept fighting. The battle was chaos. Earth ships darted between the massive alien vessels like small fish around whales. Some tried to ram the enemy ships, their captains deciding that if they were going to die, they would take aliens with them. A few succeeded, their ships exploding against alien hulls in brilliant flashes, but for every alien ship damaged, Earth lost 10. The math was simple and terrible. On Earth's surface, things were even worse. Alien ships hung over every major city like metal clouds. Energy beams lanced down from orbit and buildings simply stopped existing. New York, London, Tokyo, Moscow. The great cities of humanity were being erased one block at a time. In Seoul, engineer Donghyan crouched in an underground bunker beneath the city. He was supposed to be coordinating Earth's orbital defenses, but half the satellites were already gone. The screens around him showed red warning lights everywhere. "Sir," his assistant called out, "the defense grid is down to 30%. We're losing satellites faster than we can replace them." Donghyan stared at the displays. The aliens were being methodical. They weren't just randomly destroying things. They were taking out communications first, then power plants, then military bases. They had studied Earth's infrastructure and knew exactly how to break it, but as he watched, an idea began to form. "Pull up the civilian satellite network," he ordered. "Sir?" "The commercial satellites. Weather monitoring, television broadcasts, internet relays." "All of them." His assistant looked confused but started typing. Thousands of small satellites appeared on the screen. Most were tiny compared to military hardware, but there were so many of them. "What if we turned them into weapons?" Donghyan muttered. "Sir, those satellites don't have weapons. Most of them are just communication relays." "No, but they have mass. And they can be directed." Donghyan was already pulling up control protocols. "If we can change their orbits, make them collide with the alien ships. It was a desperate plan. The civilian satellites were never designed for combat. But Earth was losing, and desperate plans were all they had left. High above Seoul, Dr. So Young worked frantically in Space Station Alpha. The station was supposed to be a research facility, but now it was Earth's last orbital command post. She had been analyzing the alien ships since the battle began, and what she found was troubling. "Their energy shields are incredible," she told Admiral Jeho over the radio. "Our weapons barely scratch them. But the strange thing is, the shields seem designed to stop specific types of attacks. What do you mean? They're prepared for energy weapons and missiles. But look at this. She sent him a data file. When Captain Kim rammed his ship into that alien destroyer, it did real damage. More damage than a nuclear missile. Admiral Ji Ho was quiet for a moment. You're saying they're not prepared for ramming attacks? I'm saying they might be overconfident. Think about it. If you had shields that could stop any weapon, would you worry about someone crashing into you? On the surface, the battle was spreading to every continent. Alien landing craft descended like metal rain, deploying soldiers that looked like the ambassador but carried weapons that fired bolts of lightning. Human soldiers fought them in the streets of every major city in the ruins of what used to be downtown Tokyo. Lieutenant Taemin led a squad of fighters through the rubble. They had been cut off from command for 6 hours, but they kept fighting. The alien soldiers were tough, but they moved in predictable patterns, like they were following a textbook. They're not used to this kind of fighting, Taemin told his squad as they took cover behind a destroyed car. Watch how they move. They expect us to line up and fight them properly. One of his soldiers, a young woman named Ji Woo, nodded. So we don't fight them properly. Exactly. They used tactics that would have made their instructors angry. They hid in sewers and attacked from behind. They used the ruins of buildings to set ambushes. They fought dirty and mean and desperate. And slowly they began to win small victories back. In space, the tide was turning, but not in Earth's favor. Commander Haewon's fleet was down to less than 100 ships. The aliens had barely lost 50. But something was happening that Admiral Vexler had not expected. The human ships were changing their tactics. Instead of trying to fight like a proper space navy, they were acting like pirates. They would dart in, fire everything they had at a single target, then run before the aliens could respond. Some ships were ramming alien vessels and exploding on impact. These humans fight without honor, Vexler said to his second-in-command. They use suicide attacks and refuse to engage in proper combat. Should we change our strategy, Admiral? Vexler considered this. In 300 years of conquest, no species had ever required a change in strategy. The Dominion's methods were perfect because they were logical and efficient. No, maintain current attack patterns. Their resistance is pointless. But even as he said it, Vexler felt something he had never experienced before. Doubt. These humans were supposed to have surrendered by now. Every other species did. Why were they still fighting? Lieutenant Dayun's voice cut through the chaos on the Taeguk's bridge. Captain, I'm reading massive energy spikes from the civilian satellite network. Haeun-ki looked at his tactical display. Hundreds of small dots were moving in unusual patterns, converging on alien ship positions. What the hell is Donghaeun doing down there? His question was answered a moment later. A communication satellite no bigger than a car slammed into an alien cruiser at orbital velocity. The impact was like a bomb going off. The alien ship staggered, its shields flickering. Then another satellite hit. And another. All across the battle zone, tiny civilian satellites were throwing themselves at the massive alien ships like angry bees attacking a bear. Most did no damage, but the cumulative effect was starting to show. Brilliant! Haewon's voice came over the radio. All ships follow Donghaeun's lead. Use everything as a weapon. Cargo containers, escape pods, anything with mass. The character of the battle began to change. Earth's forces stopped trying to fight like the aliens expected them to. They fought. Like humans, messy, unpredictable, and absolutely refusing to give up. Admiral Vexler watched his tactical displays with growing confusion. The humans should have been defeated hours ago. Their technology was primitive, their ships were small, and they were vastly outnumbered. But they kept fighting with an intensity that made no sense. Admiral, his tactical officer reported, we have destroyed 60% of their orbital infrastructure and 40% of their fleet. However, our own losses are higher than projected. How much higher? We have lost 87 ships, sir. The projections suggested we would lose no more than 10. Vexler stared at the numbers, 87 ships. In his entire career, he had never lost more than 5 ships in a single battle. Explain. The humans are using unconventional tactics, sir. Ramming attacks, improvised weapons, coordinated civilian satellite strikes. They are not following standard military doctrine. Because they are primitives, Vexter said firmly. Continue the attack. This will be over soon. 3 months had passed since the aliens first attacked Earth. The planet looked very different now. Where great cities once stood, there were now piles of rubble and twisted metal. The oceans were darker, filled with the debris of destroyed ships. Nearly 1 billion people were dead, but humanity was still fighting in what used to be Tokyo. Dr. Jin-A crawled through the ruins of a research laboratory. The building had been hit by alien fire 2 weeks ago, but the basement levels were still intact. More importantly, they contained something very valuable, pieces of crashed alien ships. "Hand me that scanner," she called to her assistant, a young man named Wu Jin, who had been a college student before the war started. Now he was one of the few people left who understood advanced electronics. Jin-A pointed the scanner at a piece of alien hull metal. The readings made her eyes widen. "This is impossible. The molecular structure is completely different from anything we've ever seen." "Is that good or bad?" Wu Jin asked. "It's incredible. Look at this density reading. This metal is stronger than our best steel, but it weighs half as much. And see these energy channels running through it? I think this is how they power their ships." For weeks, Jin-A had been collecting alien debris from crash sites around the world. Every piece told her something new about their technology. The aliens used materials that Earth science said shouldn't exist. Their power systems were based on principles that human physicists were just beginning to understand. But Jin-A was learning. Slowly, carefully, she was figuring out how alien technology worked. And more importantly, she was learning how to copy it. "Wu Jin, fire up the 3D printer. I want to try something." High above the Earth, Captain Hyun-Ki commanded what was left of the human fleet from an asteroid base near Mars. The Taeguk had been destroyed in the second week of fighting, but Hyun-Ki had escaped in a life pod. Now he flew a ship built from spare parts and salvaged alien technology. His fleet wasn't really a fleet anymore. It was more like a pack of space pirates. 60 ships, all different sizes, hiding in asteroid fields and striking at alien supply convoys. They couldn't win big battles, but they could make the aliens' lives miserable. "Target acquired," reported Captain Sujin from her ship, a converted mining vessel armed with alien weapons they had stolen 3 weeks ago. Single alien transport, lightly defended. Hyun-Ki studied the tactical display. The alien ship was carrying supplies to their forces on Earth. It had 2 escort fighters, standard Dominion procedure. But Hyun-Ki had learned that standard procedures could be turned against the aliens. "All ships, prepare for attack pattern Delta. Remember, we're not trying to fight fair." The human ships approached from different directions, using the asteroids for cover. The alien escorts moved to intercept, following the standard defensive formation that had worked for them for centuries. But Hyun-Ki's ships didn't attack the escorts. Instead, they ignored them completely and went straight for the transport. The alien fighters turned to pursue, but they were too late. Human ships swarmed the transport like angry insects. Within minutes, it was destroyed, its cargo scattered into space. "Collect anything useful and let's get out of here," Hyun-Ki ordered. The human ships grabbed what they could and disappeared back into the asteroid field. Before alien reinforcements could arrive, it was a small victory, but it was something. And lately, the small victories were adding up. On Earth, Dr. So Young worked in a hidden laboratory deep underground in what used to be Switzerland. The facility had been built inside a mountain, and so far the aliens hadn't found it. Here she was making discoveries that would have won her a dozen Nobel Prizes if there were still Nobel Prizes to win. "I've been analyzing the alien communication intercepts," she told Admiral Joe over a secure radio link. "I think I've figured something out, something important." "What is it?" "The aliens have been reporting back to their superiors, and they're not happy with how things are going here." So Young pulled up the translated messages on her screen. It had taken her weeks to crack the alien language, but now she could read their communications. What she found was fascinating. Listen to this report from Admiral Vexler to something called the Dominion Council. Resistance on the third planet continues beyond projected parameters. Local forces employ non-standard tactics that do not conform to military doctrine. Request additional resources to complete pacification. Admiral Joho was quiet for a moment. They're asking for help? That's not the interesting part. Look at the response from the Dominion Council. Request denied. Standard conquest protocols remain in effect. No additional resources authorized for primitive species. They're not sending reinforcements? It gets better. I intercepted another message yesterday. Admiral Vexler reported that human resistance has lasted 3 months. The Dominion Council's response was to ask for clarification, because apparently no species has ever resisted for more than 2 weeks. So Young leaned back in her chair. Admiral, I don't think they know how to fight a long war. They're used to quick victories. They show up, demonstrate superior firepower, and everyone surrenders. They've never had to deal with a species that just keeps fighting. This was the best news Admiral Jiho had heard in months. So they're learning as they go, just like we are? Exactly. And we're better at learning than they are. In the ruins of Seoul, engineer Dong Hyen had turned the city's subway system into the nerve center of Earth's resistance. The tunnels were deep enough to survive orbital bombardment, and they connected to similar tunnel systems in other cities around the world. Dong Hyen stared at the massive display screen showing the status of Earth's defenses. Most of the planet's surface was controlled by the aliens, but humans still held territory underground. And they were getting better at fighting from there. Sir, his assistant reported, the new weapons are ready for testing. Dong Hyen smiled. The weapons weren't really new. They were human weapons modified with alien technology that Jin'e's team had reverse-engineered. A machine gun that fired bullets made from alien metal. A rocket launcher that used alien power. Cells, nothing fancy but effective. What's the status on the hybrid ships? First batch will be ready next week. They're ugly, but they should work. The hybrid ships were Dong Hyen's proudest achievement. Human ship frames powered by alien engines, armed with weapons that combined both technologies. They wouldn't be as advanced as pure alien ships, but they would be much better than anything Earth had built before the war. More importantly, they would be built by humans, maintained by humans, and flown by humans who understood that sometimes the best tactic was the one your enemy never expected. Young pilot Taemin had become something of a legend among the resistance fighters. He had been shot down 4 times, captured twice, and escaped both times. Now he led a squadron of fighters that specialized in stealing alien equipment. Remember, he told his pilots as they prepared for another mission, we're not trying to destroy their ship. We're trying to steal it. That means precision flying and no big explosions until we're safely away. The target was a damaged alien fighter that had crash-landed in what used to be Paris. Intelligence reports said it was mostly intact. And if they could capture it, Jin'e's team might be able to learn how to build their own. Taemin's squadron flew low over the ruined city, using the destroyed buildings for cover. The alien fighter sat in what had once been a park, guarded by a squad of alien soldiers. It looked like a silver dart, sleek and deadly even when damaged. Delta Team, create a distraction on the north side, Taemin ordered. Beta Team, we're going in from the south. The attack was over in minutes. Human fighters dropped from the sky like falling stones, hitting the alien guards with everything they had. While the aliens tried to respond to the attack from the north, Taemin and his team landed near the crashed fighter. Wu Jin, who had volunteered for the mission, ran to the alien ship with a toolkit. I need 5 minutes to disconnect the security systems. You have 3, Taemin replied. Watching for alien reinforcements, Wu Jin worked frantically, using techniques that Jin'e had taught him. The alien ship's systems were incredibly complex, but he had learned to recognize the key components. Finally, the ship's lights dimmed, indicating that the security systems were offline. Got it, the ship is ours. They attached cables to the alien fighter and lifted it with their transport ship. As they flew away, Taman couldn't help but smile. 3 months ago, capturing an intact alien ship would have been impossible. Now? It was just another mission. Back at the hidden laboratory, Janae examined the captured fighter with growing excitement. It was the most complete alien ship they had ever captured. With this, she could finally understand how their propulsion systems worked. "This is it," she told Woojin. "With this ship, we can start building real hybrid fighters. Not just human ships with alien weapons, but actual combinations of both technologies." "How long will it take?" "Give me 2 weeks, maybe 3. Janae started taking detailed scans of every component. The alien technology was beautiful in its complexity, but she was beginning to see patterns. Ways that human engineering could be combined with alien materials to create something new. Something that had never existed before. Meanwhile, Admiral Vexler stood in his command center, staring at reports that made no sense. Huma. 6 months after the war began, the first human-built hybrid warship launched from a hidden shipyard in the asteroid belt. Captain Haywon stood on its bridge, running her hands over controls that looked like nothing Earth had ever built before. Half the ship was human engineering, solid, practical, built to be repaired with simple tools. The other half was alien technology that Janae's team had learned to copy. "All systems show green," reported her new navigation officer, Lieutenant Minho. He was young, barely 25, but he had learned to fly alien technology faster than anyone else in the fleet. "Weapons? Hybrid plasma cannons are charged and ready. Kinetic railguns are loaded. And we have 12 nuclear missiles with alien guidance systems." Haywon smiled. The ship was called the Ariga, and it was ugly. Human ships were built like metal boxes. Alien ships were smooth and curved. The Arung looked like someone had welded a box to a soap bar. But the energy readings showed it had more firepower than any ship Earth had ever built. "Take us to the Mars engagement zone. It's time to test this thing properly." 3 alien cruisers were patrolling near Mars, part of the blockade that kept human ships trapped in the inner solar system. They followed standard Dominion patrol patterns, moving in a triangle formation that provided mutual support. It was a good formation against conventional enemies, but the Aringa's not conventional. "Approaching weapons range," Minho reported. "Enemy ships are maintaining formation. They haven't detected us yet." The Ararang used a hybrid stealth system that Janae's team had developed. It wasn't as good as pure alien stealth technology, but it was better than anything humans had built before. More importantly, it worked differently than alien stealth, so their sensors had trouble detecting it. "Target the lead cruiser, all weapons." "Ma'am, that's 3 cruisers." "Should we call for backup?" "No, today we find out what this ship can really do." The Arang opened fire with everything it had. Plasma beams that burned hotter than the surface of the sun struck the lead alien cruiser. Its shields flared and held, but barely. Then the railguns fired, launching chunks of alien metal at incredible speed. The projectiles punched through the weakened shields and carved deep holes in the ship's hull. The alien cruiser staggered and began to list to one side. "Impossible," came the alien response over the radio. "Primitive vessel, identify yourself." "This is Captain Haywon of the Earth Defense Force ship Arring. You are in human space without permission. Surrender or be destroyed?" The aliens responded by opening fire with all 3 ships. Energy beams lanced through space toward the Arring. But Haywon was ready for this. The ship twisted and rolled, using human pilot training combined with alien maneuverability systems. Most of the shots missed completely. The few that hit were absorbed by shields that worked differently than anything the aliens had seen before. Human engineers had taken alien shield technology and modified it using human materials science. The result was weaker than pure alien shields, but it could absorb more different types of damage. Return fire, all weapons, continuous barrage. The Arrow fought like nothing the aliens had ever faced. It combined the raw firepower of alien weapons with the unpredictable tactics that humans had perfected over 6 months of desperate fighting. When the plasma cannons overheated, it switched to railguns. When those ran low on ammunition, it fired. Nuclear missiles. The first alien cruiser exploded after taking a nuclear missile directly to its power core. The second lost its main guns to a railgun strike and began to retreat. The third ship tried to ram the Air-ring, but HFY saw it coming and used the ship's hybrid engines to accelerate out of the way. Target their engines. Disable that ship, ma'am? Shouldn't we destroy it? No, I want prisoners. 20 minutes later, the battle was over. One alien cruiser was destroyed, one was captured, and one had escaped to report what had happened. Captain HFY looked at her tactical display and realized that everything had changed. For the first time since the war began, humans had won. A straight fight against equal numbers of alien ships. The news of the Arirang's victory spread through the human resistance like wildfire. In hidden bases around the solar system, engineers worked frantically to build more hybrid ships. The design was copied and modified dozens of times, each new ship learning from the lessons of the previous one. Dr. Jin A found herself in charge of humanity's entire weapons development program. She worked 18 hours a day, teaching human engineers how to build weapons that combine the best of both technologies. The breakthrough with the Aring had shown that it was possible. Now they needed to do it on a massive scale. We need more alien materials, she told Admiral Jeho during their weekly planning meeting. The hybrid ships are working, but we're running out of the rare elements that make alien technology possible. What do you need? Raids? Lots of them? We need to capture alien supply ships, mining facilities, anything that has the materials we need. Admiral Jeho nodded. Captain Hyunki's fleet has been asking for more aggressive missions. This sounds like exactly what they want to do. On Earth's surface, the war had changed as well. General Sung-ho commanded a resistance network that now covered every continent. Human soldiers had learned to fight with hybrid weapons that were more powerful than anything they had used before. More importantly, they had learned that the aliens could be beaten. In the ruins of New York, Sergeant Dae Young led a squad of fighters through the subway tunnels. They were hunting an alien patrol that had been terrorizing civilians in the area. The aliens thought they owned the surface, but humans owned the underground. Contact ahead, whispered Private Jun Seok, who was carrying one of the new hybrid plasma rifles. 6 aliens, standard patrol formation, Da Young smiled. Standard formation meant predictable tactics. The aliens never seemed to learn that predictable was dangerous when fighting humans. Jun Seok, take the high tunnel. Hai Jin, circle around behind them. Everyone else, wait for my signal. The attack was over in seconds. The alien patrol never knew what hit them. Human fighters struck from above, below, and behind, using tactics that no military academy in the galaxy had ever taught. When the shooting stopped, all 6 aliens were dead, and no humans were even wounded. Strip their equipment and let's go, Young ordered. Command wants as many alien weapons as we can get. This scene was repeated thousands of times every day across Earth. Human resistance fighters had stopped running from alien patrols. Now they hunted them. Dr. So Young made her greatest discovery while analyzing communications intercepts from the captured alien cruiser. The ship's computer contained detailed records of Dominion military operations, and what she found changed everything. Admiral, she said during an emergency conference call, I've found something incredible. The Dominion has been keeping detailed records of every species they've conquered. And I mean every species. How many? Admiral Go asked. Over 3,000 different civilizations. The Dominion has been conquering worlds for more than 10,000 years. And none of them ever fought back for longer than 6 months. The longest resistance in their entire history lasted 173 days. We passed that mark yesterday. The room fell silent as the implications sank in. Earth had already set a new record for resistance against the Galactic Dominion. But that wasn't the most important discovery. There's more, So Young continued. I found communication protocols for something called the Galactic Communication Network. It's how the Dominion talks to other species across the galaxy. Can we access it? Better, I can send messages on it. And I know how to reach some of the species the Dominion has conquered. Admiral Jiho felt his heart racing. You mean we can talk to other aliens? Species that have been conquered by the Dominion? Exactly. And I think they might be very interested to hear that someone is finally fighting back successfully. So Young had already prepared the message. It was simple, but it carried a meaning that hadn't been heard in the galaxy for centuries. This is Earth. We are human. The Galactic Dominion attacked our world 6 months ago. We are still fighting. We are still free. To any who can hear this message, resistance is possible. The message was broadcast on dozens of frequencies, reaching every corner of Dominion space. On 1,000 conquered worlds, beings who had given up hope of freedom suddenly heard something. Impossible. Someone was fighting the Dominion and winning. Admiral Vexler received the report of the Airings' victory with disbelief that quickly turned to anger. 3 cruisers defeated by a single human ship? It was impossible. It was unthinkable. It was absolutely unacceptable. How? He demanded of his tactical officer. The ship appeared to be using hybrid technology, sir. A combination of human and Dominion systems. Our sensors detected energy signatures we have never seen before. Are you telling me they have improved our technology? It appears so, sir. The weapon signatures suggest they have found ways to combine their primitive systems with our advanced ones to create something new. Vexler stared at the tactical display showing the wreckage of his ships. In 6 months, these humans had gone from helpless primitives to a force that could defeat Dominion cruisers in open combat. It should have been impossible, but then something even worse happened. His communications officer received an intercept of the human bro. 9 months after the first alien ship appeared near Jupiter, Admiral Jiho stood in the command center of humanity's newest space station. Hidden deep in the asteroid belt, the station had been built entirely from salvaged alien materials and human engineering. It was ugly, like all human-alien hybrid technology, but it worked better than anything either species had built alone. Admiral, reported Commander Dong Hyan, the fleet is ready. 57 hybrid ships, all armed and fully crewed. Ho looked at the tactical display showing Earth's new fleet. It was still smaller than what the aliens had brought to Earth, but these ships were different. They had been built by people who had spent 9 months learning how to fight an enemy with superior technology. Every ship carried lessons written in the blood of fallen comrades. What's the status on Operation Tayback? All strike teams are in position. Captain Hyan-Ki's squadron is holding at the jump point. Dr. So Young has confirmed the target location. We're ready to go. Operation Tayback was humanity's first attack outside the solar system. For 9 months, humans had been defending their home. Now they were going to take the fight to the enemy. The target was a Dominion supply base 3 star systems away. Intelligence gathered from captured alien computers showed it was lightly defended, but vitally important for supporting the siege of Earth. Give the order. Begin Operation Tayback. Captain Hyan-Ki felt his stomach twist as his ship, the hybrid cruiser Baekdu, jumped into hyperspace. The sensation was still new to humans. 6 months ago, faster-than-light travel had been science fiction. Now it was just another weapon in humanity's growing arsenal. Jump complete, reported his navigator. Lieutenant Young-Soo? We are 3 light years from Earth, in the Kepler 442 system. Through the main window, Hyan-Ki could see an alien installation floating in space near a large asteroid. It looked like a metal flower with 6 arms extending from a central hub. Sensor readings showed it was massive, easily 10 times larger than Earth's biggest space station. Target confirmed. Begin attack approach. The human fleet dropped out of hyperspace in perfect formation. 57 ships against a supply base defended by only 12 alien vessels. The numbers looked good, but Hyan-Ki knew that alien technology could still surprise them. All ships, weapons free. Remember the plan: hit fast, hit hard, and get out before reinforcements arrive. The battle was unlike anything that had ever happened in space. Human ships fought with tactics that no military academy in the galaxy had ever taught. They used the asteroids for cover, fired from impossible angles, and coordinated their attacks in ways that confused the alien defenders. The Baekdu lead the charge. its hybrid weapons carving through alien shields like they were made of paper. Behind it, Captain Su Jin's ship launched a spread of missiles that had been modified with alien guidance systems. Every shot hit its target. Alien Supply Depot is taking heavy damage, reported Young-Soo. Their defensive fleet is trying to form up, but we're hitting them too fast. Within 20 minutes, it was over. The alien supply base was destroyed, its defensive fleet scattered or destroyed. Most importantly, the human fleet had captured dozens of supply ships filled with materials that Earth desperately needed. All ships, collect what you can and prepare for jump. We don't want to be here when their friends show up. As the human fleet prepared to leave, Hyun-Ki opened a channel to broadcast on all alien frequencies. This is Captain Hyun-Ki of the Earth Defense Force. You attacked our world, you killed our people. Now we're coming for you. This is just the beginning. The message was simple, but it carried across the galaxy with the speed of light. For the first time in 10,000 years, someone had successfully attacked a Dominion installation outside their home system. The impossible had become reality. Back on Earth, Dr. So-Young monitored alien communications from her hidden laboratory. The response to the attack on the supply base was immediate and frantic. Alien commanders across the sector were demanding explanations. How had primitives managed to mount an offensive operation? But even more interesting were the other signals she was detecting. On worlds throughout Dominion space, the communications networks were buzzing with activity. Species that had been silent for centuries were suddenly talking to each other. Admiral, she reported to Jeho, the alien communication networks are going crazy. I'm detecting coordination signals from at least 17 different star systems. What kind of coordination? The kind that happens before a rebellion. So-Young had been monitoring these signals for weeks, ever since the first human broadcast. What started as whispers had become shouts. Species that had given up hope were remembering what freedom meant. The human example was spreading like a virus across the galaxy. Sir, I think we may have started something much bigger than we intended. On the planet Vector Prime, in a star system 40 light-years from Earth, a being named Zethkal listened to the intercepted human broadcast for the 100th time. His people, the Vector, had been conquered by the Dominion 300 years ago. They had tried to resist once, but their rebellion had been crushed so completely that they had never tried again. Until now. The humans fight for 9 months. Zethkal said to his companions in the underground meeting, 9 months against the Dominion fleet. And now they attack Dominion bases. If primitives can do this, what can we do? The Vector had advantages the humans didn't. They understood alien technology because they had been forced to use it for centuries. They knew Dominion military procedures because they had been conquered by them. Most importantly, they had been waiting 300 years for a chance like this. When do we begin? Asked another Vector. Tonight. We start with the communication relays, then the garrison. By morning, Vector Prime will be free. Similar conversations were happening on dozens of worlds across Dominion space. The human broadcast had done more than share information, it had shared hope. And hope, it turned out, was the most dangerous weapon in the galaxy. Admiral Vexter received the reports of the supply base attack with something approaching panic. In his entire career, no enemy had ever successfully attacked a Dominion installation outside their home system. It violated every principle of warfare that the Dominion understood. How many ships did we lose? He asked his tactical officer. 12 defensive vessels and the entire supply complex, sir. The humans also captured 43 supply ships with their cargo. And our losses against their fleet? Minimal, sir. They withdrew before we could engage them effectively. That was the most troubling part. The humans hadn't stayed to fight. A pitched battle. They had struck hard, accomplished their mission, and left. It was the kind of strategic thinking that took most species centuries to develop. Sir, his communications officer interrupted, we're receiving reports of uprisings across the sector. Vector Prime has gone silent. The Zephyrian colonies are reporting organized resistance. The Altair manufacturing worlds have stopped production. Vexther stared at the tactical display showing red warning lights appearing across Dominion space. How many systems? 17 confirmed rebellions, sir. And the number is growing. For the first time in his life, Admiral Vexther understood what the word disaster really meant. The humans hadn't just refused to surrender. They had inspired other species to remember what freedom looked like. The most stable empire in Galactic history was beginning to shake apart. Get me a direct line to Dominion Command. Priority Alpha. Lieutenant Dayun, now Admiral Dayun and commander of Earth's intelligence operations, sat in a room filled with communication equipment that had been built from captured alien technology. She was monitoring hundreds of alien channels simultaneously, watching the rebellion spread across the galaxy in real time. Admiral Jiho, she called over the intercom, you need to see this. Jiho hurried into the communications center. The main screen showed a map of Dominion space with lights indicating rebel activity. When the operation had started 9 months ago, there had been only one light. Earth. Now the screen was filled with them. How many? Jiho asked. 23 star systems in open rebellion. 47 more showing signs of organized resistance. And it's accelerating. What do you mean, accelerating? Watch this. Yun played a recording of an alien broadcast. This went out 6 hours ago from the Altair system. The voice was not human, but the words were translated by captured alien. Computers. To all free beings in the galaxy. This is Commander Yuthan of the Altair Liberation Fleet. We have driven the Dominion from our worlds. We offer our support to all who fight for freedom. The humans have shown us the way. Now we must follow it together. Jiho felt goosebumps on his arms. They're coordinating with each other. It gets better. 3 hours ago, we received this. Another alien voice from a different species. Human Command, this is the Vector Resistance Council. We have heard your broadcasts. We offer alliance against the common enemy. Together we are stronger. For 9 months, Earth had fought alone against an enemy that seemed impossible to defeat. Now, suddenly, they were not alone anymore. Species from across the galaxy were rising up, inspired by humanity's example. The Galactic Dominion was facing its first real crisis in 10,000 years. Yin, send a response to every rebel group. Tell them Earth accepts their alliance. Tell them we're... The rebellion spread faster than anyone had expected. Within 2 weeks of humanity's first successful raid outside the solar system, 43 star systems had declared independence from the Galactic Dominion. Admiral Deon sat in Earth's hidden command center, watching reports flood in from across the galaxy. Admiral, called Lieutenant Minho from his communication station, we're getting a priority message from the Vector Resistance. They've captured an entire Dominion fleet. How many ships? Over 200 vessels, including 3 dreadnoughts. The Vector commander says they used human tactics. Hit-and-run attacks that confused the Dominion forces into making mistakes. Yun smiled. The tactics that humans had developed out of desperation were proving effective in alien hands. Species that had been conquered for centuries were remembering how to fight. And they were learning fast, but her smile faded when another report came in. Ma'am, we have a problem. Long-range sensors are detecting a massive energy signature moving toward Earth. Something big. On his flagship deep in space, Admiral Vexler watched the planet-killer weapon approach Earth's solar system. The device was enormous, a sphere of dark metal nearly 50 kilometers across, powered by technology that could tear apart the fabric of space itself. It was the Dominion's ultimate weapon, used only 3 times in 10,000 years to destroy worlds. That had become too troublesome. ETA to Earth orbit? Vexler asked his tactical officer. 6 hours, sir. The weapon will be ready to fire 12 hours after arrival. Vexler nodded, but felt no satisfaction. Destroying Earth would end the human problem, but the rebellion had already spread beyond their homeworld. Even if every human died today, dozens of other species would continue fighting. The damage was done. Sir, his communications officer interrupted. We're receiving intelligence reports from across the sector. The rebellions are coordinating their attacks. They're using human communication protocols. Show me. The tactical display lit up with red markers showing rebel activity. But this wasn't random chaos anymore. The attacks were planned, coordinated, and devastatingly effective. Rebel fleets were hitting Dominion supply lines, communication relays, and isolated garrisons with precision that spoke of careful planning. They're learning from each other, Vexter realized. The humans taught them to fight, and now they're teaching each other to win. Deep beneath the ruins of Seoul, Engineer Dong Hyen stared at the readings from Earth's long-range sensors. The approaching object was unlike anything in their databases, but its energy signature was unmistakable. Whatever it was, it carried enough power to destroy planets. "Get me Admiral Jiho," he called to his assistant. "Priority Alpha." Within minutes, Earth's top military leaders were gathered around Dong Hyen's displays. The readings were terrifying in their simplicity. The alien device was approaching Earth at incredible speed, and its power output was beyond anything they had ever measured. "How long do we have?" asked Admiral Jiho. 18 hours until it reaches Earth orbit. After that, I don't know. But based on these energy readings, I think we're looking at a planet-killer weapon. The room fell silent. Everyone understood what that meant. After 10 months of fighting, after inspiring rebellions across the galaxy, Earth was about to be destroyed. Completely. Options? Jiho asked. Dr. Janae, who had been studying the sensor data, looked up from her tablet. The weapon is heavily shielded, but it's also incredibly complex. If we could get close enough to study its power distribution patterns, we might find a weakness. How close? Very close. Someone would have to get within a few kilometers of the device while it's charging up to fire. Captain Haewon, who had been listening quietly, stepped forward. The Aeron could do it. Our hybrid stealth systems might get us close enough. It would be a suicide mission, Admiral Jiho pointed out. Maybe, but if we're all going to die anyway, we might as well try to take that thing with us. While Earth's leaders planned their desperate defense, the galaxy continued to burn with rebellion. On Altair Prime, Commander Yuthen led a fleet of captured Dominion ships against a major alien military base. The base was heavily defended, but the rebels had something the Dominion didn't expect: human tactical innovations, combined with alien technology and local knowledge. "All ships, remember the human lessons," Yuthen broadcast to his fleet. "Hit fast, hit hard, and don't give them time to think." The rebel attack was chaos incarnate. Ships attacked from every direction at once, using weapons combinations that violated every principle of civilized warfare. Alien defenders tried to respond with standard formations and procedures, but the rebels refused to fight by any rules. Within 2 hours, the Altair system was completely free of Dominion forces. But more importantly, the rebels had captured the base's communication center intact. For the first time since the rebellion began, they had access to real-time Dominion military communications. "Get me Earth Command," Yuthen ordered. "They need to hear this." Back on Earth, Admiral Dayun received the transmission from Altair with growing alarm. The rebels had intercepted Dominion orders revealing the planet-killer weapons mission, but they had also discovered something even more important. "Admiral Jiho," she called urgently, "the Altair rebels have intelligence on the planet-killer weapon." "But sir, there's something else. The Dominion Council has ordered similar weapons to be deployed against every rebel world. They're planning to destroy all of us." Jiho felt his blood run cold. "How many worlds?" 43 so far, with more being added every day. "Sir, if they succeed in destroying Earth, they'll use it as a demonstration to terrify the other rebels into surrendering. If they fail here, they'll move on to the next target anyway. So this is it. If we don't stop that weapon, the rebellion dies with us." Lieutenant Taemin, now a squadron commander, stood in the hangar bay looking at the modified fighters that would escort the Aering on its mission. The ships were the best of human-alien hybrid technology, but they would be flying into certain death. "Remember," he told his pilots, "our job is to get Captain Haewon close enough to the planet killer to do her job. Whatever happens to us doesn't matter as long as she gets there." His pilots nodded. They were young, most of them barely out of their teens when the war began. But 10 months of fighting had turned them into veterans who understood that sometimes the only victory possible was making sure the enemy paid a price for killing you. "Sir," asked his wingman, a pilot named Kyung-ho, "what if the Arrang's plan doesn't work? Then we ram our ships into that thing and hope it's enough to damage it," Taemin replied. "One way or another, the weapon doesn't get to fire on Earth." As the planet-killer weapon entered Earth's solar system, Captain Haewon prepared the Arrow. For its final mission, Dr. Jinnae had loaded the ship with every piece of equipment they thought might help: sensors to analyze the weapon's structure, computer viruses designed to disrupt alien systems, and enough explosives to level a small city. "All systems ready," reported Lieutenant Minho from his station. "Stealth systems are active. The weapon sensors shouldn't detect us until we're very close." "How close is very close?" "About 5 kilometers. After that, we'll be visible on any sensor system ever built." Hey, one nodded. 5 kilometers was point-blank range for a weapon that size. If Jinnae's plan didn't work immediately, they would be vaporized before they could try anything else. "Take us in." The Arrowing approached the planet-killer weapon like a tiny insect flying toward a metal moon. The device was even more terrifying. Up close, a perfect sphere of dark metal covered in strange patterns that seemed to pulse with their own light. Energy readings showed it was beginning to charge its primary weapon. "Scanning now," Jinnae reported from her station. "The power distribution is incredible, but wait, there's something wrong with the pattern." "Wrong how? It's too perfect, too symmetrical. No system this complex should have perfect power distribution unless—" Jinnae's eyes widened. "Unless it has a single point of failure. Captain, the entire weapon is powered by one central core. If we could overload it, Where?" "There." Jinnae pointed to a section of the sphere where the energy patterns converged. "If we could get our computer virus into that access port, we might be able to cause a feedback loop that would destroy the weapon from the inside." Hey, one looked at the tactical display. The access port was on the far side of the weapon, guarded by automated defense systems that were already starting to track their approach. "All ships, this is Arrowing. We're going in. Cover us as long as you can." Taemin's fighter squadron swept in from all directions, drawing fire from the planet killer's defensive systems. The automated weapons were incredibly accurate, and human ships began exploding all around the massive device. But the sacrifice bought the Arrowing precious seconds to reach the access port. "We're in position," Minho reported. "Uploading the virus now." For a moment, nothing happened. Then the planet-killer weapon began to shudder. The perfect energy patterns that had been building toward Earth's destruction suddenly became chaotic and unstable. "It's working," Jinnae shouted. "The virus is spreading through their control systems." But their celebration was cut short when alarms began blaring throughout the Arrowing. The planet-killer's automatic systems had detected the intrusion and were trying to purge the virus by Riro. 6 months after the destruction of the planet-killer weapon, Admiral Jiho stood in the conference room of Harmony Station, a massive space facility built where the asteroid belt used to hide Earth's resistance. The station was a symbol of everything. That had changed, human engineering combined with alien technology, but designed for peace instead of war. Across the table sat Admiral Vexter, looking older and more tired than when the war began. Between them were representatives from 87 different species, all of whom had thrown off Dominion rule in the past year. The galaxy looked very different than it had when that first alien ship appeared near Jupiter. "The terms are acceptable to the Terran Liberation Coalition," Jiho said, reviewing the agreement that had taken weeks to negotiate. "Complete independence for all rebel worlds, reparations for war damage, and the establishment of a new galactic government based on voluntary participation." Vexler nodded slowly. "The remaining Dominion Council agrees to these terms. We no longer have the power to enforce our old system anyway." It was true. The galactic dominion that had ruled for 10,000 years was gone. Only 30 Star systems remained loyal to the old government, and even those were demanding reforms. The rest of the galaxy had chosen freedom, inspired by a small blue planet that had refused to surrender. Dr. So Young, now serving as Earth's chief diplomat, leaned forward. There's one more thing we need to discuss. The new government structure. She activated a holographic display showing the proposed Galactic Federation. Instead of one empire controlling everything, it would be a voluntary alliance of free worlds. Each species would govern itself, but they would work together on issues that affected everyone. Earth has proposed that the Federation capital be established here, at Harmony Station, So Young continued. We believe that neutral territory built by cooperation between former enemies sends the right message. Commander Yethan of the Altair Liberation Fleet spoke up. The Rebel Coalition supports this proposal. Earth showed us how to fight for freedom. Now let them show us how to preserve it. Similar voices echoed around the table. Species after species voiced their support for the human proposal. It was remarkable. Beings who had been enemies just months ago were now working together to build something entirely new, but not everyone was happy with the changes. In a private meeting after the main session, Vexler sat alone with Admiral Jiho. The alien leader looked defeated but also strangely relieved. You have to understand, Vexler said quietly, the Dominion brought order to the galaxy. For 10,000 years there were no major wars between species. Our system worked. Your system was built on slavery, Jiho replied, but without anger. Yes, it brought peace, but it was the peace of the graveyard. No one fought because no one was allowed to hope, and now? What happens when these free worlds start fighting each other? What happens when the old hatred between species resurfaces? Jiho was quiet for a moment. I don't know. Maybe some of them will fight. Maybe some alliances will fail. But at least they'll have the choice. Freedom isn't perfect, Admiral. It's just better than the alternative. Vexler studied the human across from him. You know, when we first detected your species, our analysts said you were too primitive to be a real threat. We cataloged your weapons, studied your technology, analyzed your military capabilities. But we never understood what you were. What do you think we are? Teachers. You taught the galaxy that will is stronger than technology. That hope is more powerful than fear. That sometimes the right thing to do is impossible, so you do it anyway. Vexler paused. We thought knowledge was power. You showed us that determination is stronger than knowledge. On Earth, the rebuilding continued. The planet that had lost a third of its population was slowly healing. New cities rose from the ruins of the old ones, but they were different now. Human architecture mixed with alien designs created buildings that were both beautiful and functional in ways neither species could have achieved alone. Captain Hay-1 walked through the memorial garden in what used to be Seoul. Thousands of names were carved into black stone, humans who had died fighting for freedom. At the center of the memorial stood a statue of Lieutenant Taemin in his fighter pilot uniform, representing all the young people who had given their lives so others could be free. Captain, called a familiar voice. Dr. Janae approached, carrying a tablet filled with technical specifications. I wanted to show you something. What is it? The first ship built by the new Federation shipyards. Look at this design. The tablet showed plans for a vessel that was unlike anything that had ever existed. It combined human durability with alien elegance, Earth's practical engineering with the advanced materials science of a dozen different worlds. But most importantly, it was designed for exploration, not conquest. It's beautiful, Hay-1 said. We're calling it the Unity class. The first ship will be named Terra Nova, Captain. How would you like to command humanity's first contribution to the Federation exploration fleet? Hay-1 looked at the design again. After 18 months of war, the idea of flying a ship built for discovery instead of destruction was almost overwhelming. Where would we go? Everywhere. There are regions of the galaxy that even the Dominion never explored. Species that might exist beyond the edge of known space. Worlds that could be homes for beings we haven't even imagined yet. Meanwhile, in the underground laboratories that had once hidden Earth's resistance, engineer Dong Haiyan worked on a very different project. The hybrid technology that had won the war was now being used for peaceful purposes. Fusion reactors that could power entire cities. Medical devices that combined human and alien science to cure diseases. Communication systems that could connect worlds across the galaxy instantly. "Sir," his assistant called out, "we're receiving the first reports from the Vector Reconstruction Project." Dong Haiyan looked at the incoming data. The Vector homeworld had been badly damaged during their rebellion against the Dominion. Human engineers were working with Vector scientists to rebuild their cities using hybrid technology. The results were remarkable, infrastructure that was more advanced than anything either species could have built alone. How many other worlds are requesting assistance? 47 so far. Everyone wants to learn human-style hybrid engineering. Dong Haiyan smiled. The technology that had been born out of desperation was now bringing hope to worlds across the galaxy. It was a better legacy than anyone could have imagined. At the new Federation headquarters, Admiral Dai Yun coordinated communications across the galaxy. Her job had changed from intercepting enemy signals to managing peaceful contact between dozens of species. It was more complex than warfare in some ways, but infinitely more rewarding. "Admiral," reported her communications officer. "Lieutenant Young-Soo, we're receiving first contact signals from a previously unknown species in the Andromeda sector." "What do they want?" "They've heard about the Federation. They're asking if they can join." Dune pulled up the galactic map on her main screen. The new signals were coming from far beyond the old Dominion borders, in regions that had never been explored. Somehow, word of the Federation was spreading even to species that had never encountered either humans or the Dominion. "Send them the standard welcome package. Include the Federation Charter and our basic principles. Let them know that membership is voluntary and based on mutual respect." It was the same message that went out dozens of times each week. The galaxy was full of species that had heard about the alliance of free worlds and wanted to be part of something better, but perhaps the most important change was happening in the schools. On worlds throughout the Federation, children of different species learned together for the first time in galactic history. Human children played with young Vector. Altair students shared classrooms with beings from dozens of different worlds. In one such classroom on Harmony Station, a human teacher named Ms. Park told the story that every child in the Federation knew by heart. "Long ago," she said to her mixed class of young beings, "the galaxy was ruled by an empire that believed might made right. They conquered world after world, forcing everyone to obey their laws and follow their rules. For 10,000 years, no one dared to resist them." A young Vector raised his hand. "But then the humans said no, right?" "That's right. When the Empire came to Earth and demanded surrender, humanity chose to fight instead. Not because they thought they could win, but because they believed freedom was worth dying for." "An Altair child spoke up, and then everyone else started fighting too." "Yes, the human example showed other species that resistance was possible, that empires could be defeated, that freedom was worth fighting for." Miss Park looked around the classroom, at faces from a dozen different worlds. "What's the most important lesson from that story?" A human girl raised her hand. "That it only takes one person to make a difference? Close? Anyone else?" A young being from a species called the Zephyrians spoke up. "That together we're stronger than apart? Very good. The most important lesson is that freedom is not something you win once and keep forever. It's something you have to choose every day. The humans chose to fight instead of surrender. Other species chose to join the rebellion instead of staying safe. And now all of us choose cooperation over conquest.